Welcome back. Wow, a two-a-day episode here, Kyle, for clean winners. I bet you haven't seen a two-a-day or even thought about one since you graduated college.
If anybody saw me off camera, they would know that I have not seen a two a day or sometimes not even a one a day. But the high noons are flowing, Simon. It's a great day to be a part of Clean Winners. I'm excited to talk tomorrow's tennis and kind of touch about how Medvedev needs to learn how to volley.
I know, and you unfortunately I got to take all the glory in my very boring solo podcast earlier for the banner day we had yesterday. I should be 2-0 right now. I got shafted by one, so I'll just be 1-1. Diana Snyder was up 5-3 serving and decided to do the Echeverry. It was like, you know what I can do? Lose four games in a row in a deciding set.
That might get her a K-Swiss sponsorship though, so stay on the lookout for
Oh,
that.
it should. Well, I don't know what it is. She does have the Fiddler on the Roof look. Maybe it's just a Russian tragedy, but she should be in the fourth round. And quite frankly, that draw isn't all that challenging. So could have been a round of 16 appearance, but it's neither here nor there. So for that one, I already feel like I've gotten the shaft. Two women's matches lost in three sets, Bolter and Schneider, and it's I know the tide's going to turn a little, but those two are frustrating, even all the other dubs. And the one thing I have to say about yesterday, I wanted to talk with you about. Man, does Tiafo need to just fire his fitness coach? That's
Yes.
two majors in a row. The guy can't even make it through four sets, let alone five. Remember the one against Fritz? You could pinpoint the point that was the backbreaker.
I think that Tiafo should be petitioning to have all Grand Slams just played in New York because it seems like the only time that Tiafo shows up is a big time player. Like, look at Tiafo's calendar. He does this same stuff every year. He's basically a nobody until the US Open swing. Then he kind of like pops off, and everybody's like, oh, it's Tiafo. He's back. Then he comes back, and it's the same old shenanigans without like the crowd cheering him on. He doesn't seem to have like that. We talk about like inner dogs. Like, as much as I'm like ragging on Medvedev for not knowing how to volley against Lerner, like that was some inner dog that Lerner showed. Like he lost a tight third, got blown out in the fourth, and still had the gumption to like grab himself by his bootstraps and get through that match.
What a good word, gumption, dude.
Yeah, like honestly. And then I don't want to beat a dead horse on that Bolter match, but
You do like to beat a dead horse.
I did learn an interesting stat. Her Grand Slam record is atrocious. And I don't know how much if we want to look at like historical trends going forward, but it feels like we could have cut that one off at the pass just looking at the fact that she has been allergic to like the bright lights of Grand Slams.
What is Kudermetova's Grand Slam record? I don't think it's that good either. I think I looked this up and saw it was a
Did I
pass.
have I because hasn't she been there on the doubles scene at least? Or is that her sister?
No, she's been there in the double scene.
Yeah,
I don't know if Paulina's
I
been in the
just I
doubles.
just feel like if you've at least been in the deep rounds of slams and learned how to win, be it singles or doubles, I think that teaches you a lot.
Yeah, that's fair. I got to look at Bolter's record right now. I seem to remember I had looked it up before. I knew she had struggled last year in the majors, and it was a little disappointing. I kind of figured, you know what,
So I will
Aussie
give you credit.
Open, good draw.
She's done the Wimby Special. She's gone the third round 2 years in a row and got to the third round of the US Open. But aside from that, like she had never gotten past the second round of the Aussie
So
Open.
her career record is 22 and 24, Bolter, and
Okay.
Kudermetova's is 28 and 29.
Okay. No,
So
I like it
yeah,
was just a point to raise because I just, it's not often that the oracle of the WTA is wrong. So when he
the
is, like
Oracle. I
I gotta
got
come
burned
in
two three
here.
set matches in a row.
Yeah,
Burned,
but
dude.
like when we talk three set matches, that's why we call it gambling, right? Like we're living on a knife's edge
I know.
here.
Today was in good position. I was pissed.
Yeah.
I was upset the way Bolter came out yesterday, but I was actually watching that match over again because I didn't watch all the third set because I had to go sleep. And I actually think Kudermetova is playing pretty well. Now, Bolter wasn't really going for her shots again. I was like, you should just go for winners because you're going to lose these long rallies. But I mean, credit to Kudermetova. She was making a lot of balls because I've seen her before in matches just go completely off the rails.
Yeah. But that was it. I listened to the pod this morning. I loved it, but those were my 2 cents. And I want to shift us. forward, and I want to kick off tomorrow's slate of matches by talking about the Wonder American Lerner Tien versus the French circus animal of Quarantine Moutet.
I think I called him Ratatouille one time, and Angela was getting mad at me.
Well, Angela, I think my nickname's better, so we can just start calling him the circus
Like
animal.
the French circus animal. I just wait. If we had more listeners, we'd be getting the French cease and desist.
But I've got to say, I think at plus 110, I think that if Moutet doesn't get to the fourth round of the Aussie Open, he'll be very disappointed in himself
Oh
because
yeah.
I've got a working theory that when you knock off a top 10 player and it's one of your first times doing it, you can almost auto pencil in that person to lose in the next round because we've seen guys like Lucas Rosol, Steve Darcis, Andreas Seppi at the Australian Open, Dennis Istomin, like Siegman today got spanked after beating Quinn Wen or Zhang, sorry. I just and Tien had to qualify. I just think that this is Mute's golden opportunity to make a run here.
Oh, you forgot to put Robin Soderling in there.
That's
No,
well,
he
he
kept
beat
going.
Nadal.
He
He got
kept
to the
going.
final,
Yeah,
right?
I
Yeah,
know.
like
I know. I
like
just wanted to say that.
there's always exceptions, right? And Soderling
But
was
usually that's
probably
what
my
happens.
yeah
You just bust the entire arsenal and
proverbial
that's
load.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the proverbial. I was trying to avoid saying it, but I'm glad you went there and not me. That's the high noons there, folks.
The tequila seltzer tonight. The lime flavor is
Mmm.
magnificent.
I bet it is. And so far these takes are good. So I'll tell you what, to me, these are two unreliable left-handed players. That being said, I mean, it is tough. It's like in the NFL sometimes, if you go out and get wiped on the floor, it's tough to go out the next week and pick yourself up off the mat. And conversely, in tennis, sometimes it's hard 2 days later, having spent on that massive win, to go out there and try and find a way across the line. So I'm with you. I'm with you. I don't think TN has enough to do it again. And Mute is so tricky, man. If you've never played him before, he plays differently than Medvedev, right? The challenge you're gonna have is different. So I
He's
like
kind of
that.
like the patron saint of our podcast. If you've not seen Mute play, the young Japanese girl that we talked about a lot,
Ito.
where Ito, there it is. I couldn't remember her
You're
name,
gonna
but
see her
if
top 70 by the end of the year for
and
sure.
I tell you what, we'll be riding her every time that she has good odds. I
Okay.
got there. Give me a second. Just got to figure out.
Okay.
I got to
I
figure
was
out the.
about to
I
say we're gonna get
got.
cease and desist from Japan now
I
too.
got. I got to work out the word salad
I
there.
guess Jess ain't listening to this podcast, so that's fair.
If she is, she's just kind of put it on mute and then checks back in when you're talking.
Has a little filter. Oh my gosh, I like that one. So I'm gonna endorse Mute. What anything else? Well, I know you have other stuff you want to drop
Yeah.
in here.
No,
You
we're
dog,
gonna
dude.
we're gonna talk a little bit of a slate of matches here. I want to move to the
Ooh.
next one on the list. Sonego versus Marzan. I want
Mm-hmm.
to. I think that the energy that Sonego had to spend outweighs what
Oof.
Marzan had to do in just like the battle of attrition against Tiafo. I think that there was a lot of Sonego is a fiery Italian. You know, he's a spicy meatball, so to speak. Like he expends a lot of energy on the court. And I just think that if Marzon starts well, I think he'll start running downhill and Sonego will start to lose his legs there. So that's another one that I'm circling as I'm going to play the fabulous Hungarian.
I'm gonna agree. I think I'm gonna agree more with you on this one, and the reason for that is because for anyone who watched that match, by the second half of the fourth set, Tiafo had gone away. He just, I don't, I really actually don't know what it is with this guy, but he doesn't seem to have any juice beyond the fourth set. Even in this case, in the fourth set, and so he just like that last as Marjan was getting up in that third set. I mean, the or fourth set, the fifth set was a joke. So he was already just cruising at that point, feeling good about himself. I say Marjan even heavier. And I like Sonego. But let's be honest about what Sonego is, man. He's just a solid mid-level player. It's
Yeah,
just your boy.
he's a wild element with a big
Yeah.
forehand,
Your
you
boy
know?
Flufftown had not been playing a lot of guys in the top 60, 70 of the ATP. And it was a bit of a surprise. Like, wait a second, they're fighting back. And not in the way Rublev does, just harder, harder, the Evan Hahn special, harder. Which,
And I
again,
mean, look, to give credence, Sonego's a solid pro. He's got a career losing record, so this isn't like Hercules walking around on the other side of the court. Like he's pretty unreliable.
he's Jercules.
He is absolute
By the
Hercules.
way, I heard one of the commentators, maybe it was your boy Brad, the fluff man Gilbert dude, talking about how Nadal had said that he didn't like Sonego's grunt and thought it was annoying. And he was like, Roger settled somewhere in the middle. It didn't seem to bother him. I was like, bruh, I like Nadal. Everybody does.
He
But
cannot speak on another person's grunt for as long
exactly,
as he lives.
that guy
Are
talking
you?
about another person's grunt is out of his mind.
It's like there's two things Nadal can't speak on, like time between points and grunts. Like like stop it, Nadal. Like that was probably wait,
The
like
time between points is out of control. Him and Djokovic are bad, but I remember one time my dad was like, "I can't believe they're calling Nadal for a time violation here." I'm like, he averages that he breaks the rules every point.
yeah,
Okay,
just absolutely wild.
I know. I
So
heard that. I was like, BG, you were out of your mother mind, dude. This is unbelievable. This guy.
I've thrown two matches at you, Simon. Let's do a little tit for tat here. What are you seeing on the board for tomorrow that's interesting you?
Oh boy, you just throw it right back to me in my lap, and you make me work for it, don't you? Sorry, I couldn't help myself. That was not one of my best. I'm gonna start with women's dubs. I'll probably finally brick one here, but it is a plus money odds. It's Peyton Stearns and Lucretia Stefani against Christina Mladenovic and Shuai Zhang.
You're taking
So
Mladenovic there?
no, I'm taking Stearns Stefani plus
Or
115.
has is it a new partnership between Mladenovic and her partner?
Shuai Zhang, they've played a few.
Because I would say betting against Mladenovic on a doubles court is a bad idea. She's probably one of the best WTA doubles players out there, just in terms of like slams won, deep runs in tournaments. Like if it was a singles match, like I'd bet my mortgage that Mladenovic would find a way to
She
lose a
doesn't play singles
match.
anymore.
Yeah, but on the doubles court, she's a different creature. So I would proceed there with caution.
So I'll throw this to you out there. I watched almost the entirety of that match, the last round, where she and her partner went 3 sets, 7-5 in the third against Arantxa Rus and McCartney Kessler.
Okay, like
Yeah.
they
So
could be like not
to me,
comfortable.
I think that Stearns and Stefani are better.
No, like on paper, like the two names sound better on paper. It's just the only thing that makes me nervous is that Mladenovic has
Mhm.
a history of like getting it done
Yeah, she's a good player.
in the doubles court.
She wins a lot of dubs matches.
Yeah,
And
but it could be if
so
she's
did the
not.
people who Burl and Gadecki
No, like
smoked
I mean,
today.
but it also like the what you're laying out to me. If Mladenovic had like if she was playing with Caroline Garcia or something like that, I'd never bet against
Right, but those
Mladenovic.
odds
But
wouldn't be that way.
then no, that's fair. So I
I,
might
I think for
tickle.
me, this is a confidence play, right? This is how do I feel
And when we
about
get to
like
these rounds of the slams, that's what it is. And also, who am I to argue? You are sitting pretty as the eye in the sky on WTA
I thought
doubles.
about Harriet Dart and Diane Perry plus 170. I decided against it. Um, yeah, for me, watching the way that they played, I thought these guys are really, quite honestly, very susceptible to anybody who plays a singles game style on the double court. That's my first one, and that's spicier, right? So to me, I think that one's a good one. But proceed with caution a little bit, I would say, but it is plus money. So I'm gonna throw that one out there. Now, the other one I have here for you, and I know there was a little bit like of back and forth here. You were a little nervous, but and again, I'm going in lower confidence to higher confidence. I like Eva Lee's tomorrow. She has played Christiane three times. She's 3-0, all three matches in three sets. So I would say if you guys think it's going to go three sets, you can bet the over on sets on games 21 and a half. It's basically telling you, I guess you go 7-5, 6-4 and still hit that. So I may like over on games and Lee's. I think minus 150, not enough juice.
I've just discussed. We haven't talked about this one on air, I'm
Ooh.
throwing this one at you as a little bit of a surprise. But I am going. I find a lot of interest at Musetti at plus 125 versus Ben Shelton, given that Musetti is 2-0 against Shelts and beat him. And like somebody would ask, what surface was that on? The second win was at Miami on a hard court that should favor Schultz in a period of the year that, if people remember, Musetti was being talked about as like the world's biggest flop
Mm-hmm.
last year. So I think right there, and Musetti has probably played a game really similar to Ben Shelton in Shapovalov in the previous round and kind of got through that untested, you know?
You said they've played before and he's won?
Uh, I just looked it up on the ATP head to head, and it's given me a 2-0. 2024 beat him 6-4, 7-6, and then in London's Queen's Club on grass, won in three sets.
Interesting. I'll check Tennis Abstract just to be sure. I heard Jim Courier shouting out Tennis Abstract on one of his broadcasts, and I was like, well, I'm not really a Jim Courier fan, but I do like Tennis Abstract. Yep, I see. You're right. I see two matches here for Musetti. Problem I have with Ben Shelton, man, is he's inherently unreliable. When I think of Ben Shelton, the first thing that comes to my mind is wild. The second
Yep,
thing that comes to my mind is
great abs. Sorry.
does he? I don't. He
Oh
does
yeah.
pull his shirt up, but I can't really
I think that's
remember.
because
Usually I would. I'm surprised.
he's being suffocated by the on clothing that just seems to be the ultra sweat stick edition.
They were fluffing Fonseca so much. Your boy Brad was like, "Oh, look at that on clothing. The Swiss company for which Rogers is a shareholder. They got him early, so early. What a find." He's like, "On clothing is fabulous." They have, and he starts naming off the players. I
I've
was
got to
like,
tell you,
"Why?"
on clothing is up there with the worst clobber on
It's
tour. Like
so
it's the
bad. I've
same
heard the
print.
shoes are nice though.
One of my friends has the shoes and says right out the box, you don't need to wear them in.
I've heard
But
the shoes are really where the juice is, but the clothes are crap.
yeah, unfortunately, he has a full kit deal. But I think part of the reason why I'm so bullish on Musetti at plus 125 is if he was 2-0 and both of those are on clay, then I would bet Shelton. But the thing is that Musetti on surfaces that don't favor him has handled the wild element of Ben Shelton. And I just think that that tells me a lot that he knows how to play that matchup.
Look, the other thing I think about, man, with Ben Shelton is like, this guy's really top 20. Like, does he actually win that many matches? Or is it
I
just
think
like he keeps getting to the US Open semis or quarters or whatever, and like it's carrying his whole point total?
I think it's somewhere in the middle because he does have some sneaky good tournaments throughout the year, but it's not what we're searching for with Ben Shelton is the same thing we're searching for with Tiafo on a different scale, and it's consistency throughout the entire year.
I mean, I'm searching for Tiafo to have a fitness coach, dude.
Yeah.
I feel
Well,
like if he had real fitness, he could have beat Fritz in the US Open.
yeah, and that would have been great because Fritz pegged me when I was 14 and beat me 0-1 in doubles and hit me square in the chest with a forehand.
Really?
Yeah. I was so
Boy,
nervous.
if I wasn't a Fritz fan now, he's my
Yeah,
number one American. Wave the flag.
I was so nervous playing him. I was playing Taylor Fritz and my good friend who went to USC, Riley Smith, and they dog walked us. And then like the cherry on top of the insult was Fritz put a forehand right in my chest, and I don't think I've ever forgiven him, to be honest with you.
First off, the fact that wait, who is his partner?
Riley Smith,
Wait,
the
no, who is
son.
your partner? Yeah, I know who Riley Smith is.
Vatsal Bajpai, who shout out to him, played at UC Irvine and was a
Nice.
phenomenal player in his own right. Uh,
I mean, yeah, obviously I know Peter and Riley from Wednesday Night League, but that our
yeah,
listeners will be thrilled to know, Kyle, that the level was so high. You once played Taylor Fritz,
and
and
I
he
won a
dog
game.
walked
Yeah,
you.
you know, I got dog walked. That was one of those at 14. If you had told me a guy was really good, I would probably need a fresh set of pants because I had probably just shit myself out of nerves.
Well,
We
I'll
didn't
also
really.
tell you what. I mean, I told you about the time my dad said he was in the bathroom taking a big old deuce at Indian Wells during the Easter Bowl, and Fritz's dad walks in, and he's like, "They're gonna default you," and he's like, "Dad, they're not going
I'm
to
I'm
default me.
Taylor Fritz.
I'm the number one seed. I'm Taylor Fritz." And the dad was like, "Oh my God, like what, why?" And my dad was like, the bathroom was totally empty, but I was in there just taking a deuce and they had no idea that I overheard this personal conversation.
Shout out to Mr. Peters there. But
Exactly. Yeah. I'll tell him to listen to this episode too, and he'll get mad. He'll be like, "I wasn't taking a deuce. I just had to sit down," which would be even worse.
but
Yeah, we went way off topic. Let's get
getting
back
us
to it.
back to the tennis. I have two more that I want to bring to your attention. I heard on our podcast that we have a bit of a fatwa against Emma Navarro. She's untrustable. I have been really impressed by Ons Jabeur this tournament, and her being at plus money kind of makes me want to back her here because I just think Navarro. I said it on the podcast the other day that I thought Navarro would start running downhill after getting through a first round, but she's not unhooked the caboose, and I think Jabeur is the worst person to play if you're not fully comfortable with your game yet.
Hmm. I agree with everything, but I have to add one caveat. Jabor is still has that tendency to go Chapo on us, dude. To go
This is
just
true.
unreliable mode, right? And my concern with Jabor every time, right? I think she has one of those issues of like, oh, by the way, I have too much talent and I just can't help it. I have to use all this random stuff and hit these shots and do this stuff because Jabeur is number one junior.
Yeah, it was. She does look like she has always suffered with too many tools in the toolbox. But
Exactly.
I think that she has looked very disciplined. Like for example, she looked really decent and dedicated in the match that she burned us when we thought that it would be like a tough three setter.
Hmm.
Because we took her and the over on games and she handled it in straight sets. Like I thought that was a very disciplined performance.
And they've played once, and to your term, Jabeur dog walked her. But that was 2 years ago in
Yeah,
Charleston when
not
Navarro,
quite a
yeah.
full Navarro there.
And I believe that was when Jabeur got to the finals for like 3 years in a row and lost and was like crying. Oh, I'll win it one day. Look, I'm with you. Navarro had to beat Peyton Stearns in a match she quite frankly probably should have lost in the first round. Peyton Stearns should have won that match, right? So 6-7, 7-6, 7-5 wild match, and Peyton Stearns is up. She should have won the match. And
I
then
even
goes
feel
three
that way
sets
in the
with Wang Shi.
I even feel that way in the second set, in the second match. Like
And
I
and
feel like she
then
got down
yep,
breaks in the third set.
she did. She got down a break. But the difference is you're playing Wang Shi Yu. Like I
True.
said, this morning,
We
man,
said
she
it
is
in the podcast.
ranked
Yeah.
outside 100 for a reason. She's gone three sets both times. At the very least for this, I would venture to say I would endorse well, the over on game is 22, so I think it's going to go three sets. I would endorse Jabeur here for sure, right? Because in a matchup you think is dead even, if you can get better odds on one player, you take the better odds. And so I have to do that. I have to go with the better odds here with Jabeur.
And then the last match that I wanted to raise before you bring any more to the table and then we get into best bets was I'm really interested in Alex Mickelson against Karen Kachanov.
Well, good thing you added against Karen Kachanov. I was like,
Yeah,
huh?
he's plus 135 and I think
Yeah.
you know I've not fully believed in Mickelson. Like I'll hold my hand up. I didn't see it, but I've been investing a lot of time in watching him. And I gotta say, I'm really impressed with how he's managed this tournament. You know, like that match against Tsitsipas, like a weaker mental throws away that fourth set after getting broken. And then to come back after that upset, we talk about getting a big win for your career and ultimately tossing it away. He handled the second round comfortably. Um, he's serving really well, and I think that there's an upset there to be had. I don't know if I can fully get there because Kachanov has this way of just
Yep.
winning matches when you don't think he will.
He has a way of going full Russian, man. Like
Yeah,
where you're just
he's
like,
more
no, man.
reliable than Rublev. Like if you gave me Kachanov's career, I'm like maxed it out. Like I don't think he'll win a slam, but he consistently puts himself in the conversation where you're like, oh, there's a day where Karen could maybe win a slam. I don't know how serious that is, but
With
like
a name like Karen, you're
yeah,
serious?
he keeps showing up though, which is
Yeah, but
fucking
he's a paycheck
respectable.
player, man. He beats the guys he is supposed to beat, collects that check, keeps touring with his, his posse, whatever
Yeah,
he likes to do. That's what he is. So he can beat those guys he's supposed to beat. The question we're asking ourselves
it's the
is
next step.
is Mickelson that guy? Because Kachanov is one of those guys you have to get over that hurdle to be a top 20 guy and stay there. Like you have
Yeah,
to get over that hurdle and then a top 20 guy like any given day, a Kachanov could be losing. You could be beating a Kachanov. So I don't know. Here's the thing about Mickelson. Now, I don't know if you watched him a bunch last year. I watched him. He lost to Jordan Thompson in a match. He had him dead to rights in Los Cabos
I
early.
do remember that one. That was that miraculous run that Tama went on where it felt like he
That
was just pulling matches out of a hat.
it really was. Which, by the way, they switched the Los Cabos and Merida tournament this year. So,
Interesting.
Merida took place in October last year, and Los Cabos in February. So, not long after the Aussie, we're gonna have the Merida. I personally think that the like post Aussie to the French is the best time to bet. You have so many good tournaments, hard court, clay court. It's fantastic.
I'm excited to talk Rotterdam with you
Oh,
and
I know you are.
then a little bit of the South American swing. Like I'm going to be bringing some shooters to those events. Like we're ready with the takes.
This guy's ready. Basically, after Mickelson lost to Thompson, he got dog walked, as you like to say, by Tommy Paul in Indian Wells. And then I think the rest of the year, he was playing much better. And you start to look at it, and he's been actually winning a lot more matches than he's been losing. And sure, he lost again to Thompson. That was probably in his head. 3 sets to Nishash. But he dropped the one set against Tsitsipas, and he handled McCabe, who, by the way, I've watched some McCabe in the Challenger circuit, man. He was playing as well as I've seen him
It's a
play,
good, yeah. He was
and there were
spurred on by
dudes
the Aussie
chirping
crowd.
Mickelson.
Yeah.
I like it. I just get nervous with catching up. I don't love it like some of the other ones you
Yeah,
have.
it's a hard one to endorse because in one way it's like who do I trust more? Am I willing to back the up and comer or somebody that's consistently shown it? Honestly, I think if you had given me almost any other name against Mickelson that wasn't like a top 10 player, I think I would lean Mickelson. But
Mm-hmm.
Kashanov has had this ridiculously great record of winning the matches he should win.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a coin flip, and it might not make it the best bets. But for anybody listening, um, take a peek.
They
It
just
might,
peek under the hood. Do the calm
yeah,
we can. Just take a little peek. Nothing wrong
take
with a
a,
little window
yeah,
shopping. You don't got to go inside
take
and
a little
buy.
peek. Just like if it interests you, like I don't blame you. It's good odds for Mickelson there.
They're decent odds. If Mickelson was plus 165, 170, we'd be having a very different conversation.
Fair enough. If it's baby's first bet, Mickelson might be a fun one. You know, you get to text in your group chat and talk like your Mystic Mike if you get it right. And if you didn't,
Who is Mystic Mike?
no idea. Just came up with that on the fly. My bad. I think it's Mystic Mac, to be honest with you. But that's
I,
neither
I
his.
I'm not on the same corners of
Neither.
the internet as you. I'm gonna go ahead and move to my two, and I'm gonna move down the train here of confidence. So I'll go with my second most confident here, and I think I only have these four. There's not as many as I think, but looking at the draw, man, I think the fourth round is just gonna be
That's a fun one because we'll get to also cover we'll kind of be set up to where we can start to cover almost every match
Exactly.
that looks promising.
And that may be one of those where we do a nighttime recording too, so people wake up in the morning, they're like, man, these guys sound smooth as silk in the nighttime.
God, they're like, I want to listen to Mr. NPR and the guy that uses weird limericks.
I need to get a new mic, man. I need to get one of those where like the old school where you walk in close and they're like, wow, he sounds like Tank Sinatra. Okay, so I have two here. We had talked about Putin-Sava Kasatkina. My lean is towards Putin-Sava, but it's not enough here that I want to put it in there. So I have two different ones. We talked about this one, Veronika Kudermetova and Haddad Maya. To me, that's a definite on Kudermetova. Unless her level drops significantly from where I saw it against uh, Bolter, I don't see how that wouldn't be it for me. I like
I
Haddad Maya. She
I
just
love
doesn't bring a lot of juice.
I love this play. Haddad Maya is not a big tournament player in my eyes. She's only recently started to go past second rounds of Grand Slams, and I think if it's the same Kudermetova, I think if it's 75% of the Kudermetova we saw against Bolter, I think she gets over the line there.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And she was playing well in the warm up. She lost in three sets to Mertens in Hobart, and in Brisbane she lost to Peyton Stearns. So these are good players. She's been getting stronger, been gaining strength. So, and at one point, Kudermetova was a top 10 player, which is absolutely wild.
That's
But
like finding out that Caroline Garcia got as high as she did in the singles world rankings.
oh
It,
man,
it
yeah.
is that's crazy.
I remember one of the first plays I ever told someone to take was Garcia, and I think she was playing someone who was up like 5-1 and missed a forehand volley and then like won the set in a tiebreaker and proceeded to lose the match in three. And I was like, oh my
That
God.
sounds like the full Garcia
It
experience.
really does. But yeah, it was about 2.5 years ago Kudermetova was top 10. So that's beyond the COVID time frame, you would think. So that one I have. And here's the other one. For me, this is the Kyle McCann man big banger alert here.
Woo!
I'm absolutely gonna drop the hammer on Paolini minus 145 over Svitolina.
I
I
like
think if
that.
Paolini is consistently reliable, her biggest issue is she gets overpowered. I don't know that Svitolina overpowers anyone other than Gael Monfils. So for me, I'm that's 145 is not enough. I thought I was going to see that match minus 185, 190 is what I thought. I thought maybe even books might open it at minus 200 and see what they got. Right. But you're looking at the players that Paulini's been losing to. It's Sabalenka, it's Krejcikova, it's Rybakina, it's Goff. Sure. And Noskova, she's a power player too. The only bad loss in there was 3 sets to Kostyuk in Toronto. And those are in her last like
That's
six
another big
months.
hitter as well, though. Kostya
She
can
can,
fire the
she can.
cannon.
And I think the other one was oh no, excuse me. I am looking at Svitolina. So she loses to big hitters too. I was trying to find Paulini's. That's actually one of my first screw ups. Paulini loses to Sabalenka, Mukova, Zhang, Swiatek, all big hitters. The only bad one in there is Magda Linette. She
Mm.
lost to Mukova twice, Paulini. So you look at this and they're the same type of players. Mira Andreeva, Krejcikova. So to me, I think that Pellini is more reliable.
I also think that I mean Paulini's a, a little to a lot younger than Svitolina. I think that Paulini is
Yeah.
what Svitolina was in her prime, like in her
Well,
prime. Because
Pellini's 29. She's been
it's
around a
true.
while.
She's like she's not a spring chicken.
Well, Svitolina's 30. It feels like
Fuck.
she's older, doesn't
It
it?
also yeah, it does feel like Svitolina's been on my TV for like
Svitolina's peak
years.
rank was in 2017.
That's why. I mean, I was still in college at that point. But more to the point, anyway, it feels like right now Paolini is what Svitolina was when Svitolina was at her peak in 2017.
Yeah, I agree. And to me, man, like if you yeah, the peak a long time ago is kind of wild. Did you hear earlier when I was talking about how Pavlyuchenkova and Laura Sigmund had played way back in 2007? Bruh, think
Wow.
about that. That is
She
18 years ago or 17 years ago, right? 17 years ago, basically.
yeah, I I think I'd only just started playing tennis at that point.
Dude, I thought about that. They were 16 and like 18 or something when they played. I was like, that is the wild
God,
and she had just like Pavlyuchenkova had just turned 16.
that's yeah. Wow. Because God, again, Pavlyuchenkova feels damn. Well, that
Yeah.
ruined my evening in terms of everything. So let's
I
roll it into best bets.
Oh my God. Okay, you go first. You hit it first here.
All right. I think my top confidence is I'm gonna take Musetti at plus 125 versus Ben Shelton. I like the matchup, the
Steady
head to
plus
head
on
backs
taking these notes.
the head to head backs it up. It's been on surfaces where Shelton would be favored if you were saying that he could be explosive, and Lorenzo has won those matches. So I think I've got to ride with, and when you get plus odds on somebody as good as Musetti, when he's got a favorable head to head, you have to take it. So
Just you and Lorenzo rolling in a benzo, sir.
yeah, well you know I've been saying that I think he could win a slam. So I'm putting my money where my mouth is.
Is that your top confidence? That's Kyle's
Yeah,
number one. We
Kyle's
got to
number
have
one
like
there.
the McCann Man Slam or something
Yeah, that's the
between us.
McCann Man Slam right there.
Oh boy. Again, let's hope Jess isn't listening to this. For me, it's pretty simple. This is going to be Jasmine. Well, yeah, as much as it pains me, I wanted to put her number two. I got to go Paolini here, minus 145. And I better not get burned in another third set by a slight favorite women's tennis player. Um, if I do, I'm gonna be on a rampage, like in the video game where the monkey's climbing on top of the skyscraper. And that's not a threat, FBI. I'm joking. I'm not actually
Yeah,
gonna do that.
don't take a tennis podcast too seriously.
Well, you never know. Okay, you go ahead. So you got
All
Musetti,
right.
Shelton, Paolini, Svitolina.
My next play is I'm gonna take Mute at plus 110 versus Lerner. I just think that Lerner's played three matches of qualifying. None of them have been super easy, and has played two grueling five setters. I think that that's a lot of emotional and mental energy, and he's playing my favorite circus animal. And I think Mute is just gonna make that miserable for him. Uh, so that combined with, I think Lerner is going to be asking for some serious miracle help in terms of like getting
I
the
think he
tank
might also
refilled.
be tired too.
Yeah.
He
So
said in
I
his interview he wasn't, but I'm like, what else are you gonna say? Yeah, I'm effing gassed. Like,
yeah, exactly. So
okay.
I think I think it's Mute there.
Plus 110, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'll look at it. I enter the odds as I see them before the match. Okay, I like that. Well, for me, you already know what it is. It's Big Veronica, and she's minus 115 versus God, we just talked about someone who's unreliable. It's Haddad Maya. I didn't even have to look for it. I'm gonna say that to me, that's my number two confidence. I just don't see it with Haddad Maya. Like her, don't trust her. Big difference.
Uh Going on, can we trust you or not? I'm gonna put a lot of trust in Jabor today. And
You
I'm gonna
dog,
play her.
dude.
I
You
just think if
dog.
like the way we talked about Navarro, like we were worried after the first round. We said, let's see how the second round goes, and she still hasn't really convinced me. Uh, that and if I am that dirty dog, I gotta play it.
All right, Jabora, here she is. I actually see her as even. Do you have it plus
Oh
money where you are?
yeah, I have it at plus 120. I don't know
Wow.
if I don't know
Plus
if
120.
yeah
I need to go move to Colorado and arbitrage this stuff because this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I'm
yeah
gonna call it plus 110 until I see otherwise.
that's fair.
And remember we talked about it before, and a lot of times it's more right than you would think that these books in the Caribbean that I have some respect for the action they take on tennis. If they move that line and it's vastly different from DraftKings, that's even more important to me because for something like women's tennis, dude, I would probably consider DraftKings the squarest money.
Yeah.
For men's tennis, who knows, right? There's more money on that, but for women's tennis, I would say that. So when I see something different, I'm like, okay. Though I'm sure at some point someone will comment and be like, "Oh, Rich from you missing on Diana
Nah.
Snyder today."
And we would tell them that's why it's called gambling.
And that is exactly,
Go po-
exactly why it is called
go
gambling.
politely kick rocks.
Okay, so for me here, My third confidence is obviously going to be Evilise. It sounds wild. It's another minus odd, but
It's one of those slam runs that you have to root for.
as a
Like I
lucky
just
loser
yeah,
too.
you kind of got to get behind somebody having the tournament of their life.
I also don't trust Jacqueline Christian, and she kind of had to do a little Houdini against Bronzetti. Lee's beaten her before. I have a hard time believing someone you've beaten 3 times, you're a lucky loser in the third round, biggest match of your life. You're gonna go now and take the L. So hopefully not. That's my other one. You got anything else? I think you had one
I
more that
got
you were
I
gonna say.
got I got I got a spicy play.
Okay, just
And
one
I
spicy
like
play, you dog.
yeah, today is the one spicy play. I don't want to get too greedy. I'm going to play Danielle wishes she was a villain Collins. I can't really stand any time that she tries to pantomime a villain and then come in the press and play giant hardo. But I think at plus 225 versus Madison Keys, no brainer. You were saying you didn't like how Keys looked
I
in
didn't
her
like how she
previous,
looked.
so I think that Collins has a way of annoying people, annoying the crowd,
Annoying
annoying
the
me.
fans, the spectators.
Honestly, I'm gonna put this in my spicy hate bet because I don't really particularly like rooting for Danielle Collins, but I think there's good value there.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll give you that. I don't think that there's great value there either. I mean, I don't think they're great value. I don't particularly like enjoy making a bet like that because Keys is kind of unpredictable, but I think there's decent value. Let me rephrase that. Okay, so for me, my last one is I don't know if I'm gonna put Stearns in there. I talked about that before. I noticed that Marjan was not in the best bets.
Uh, he is at minus 110, and I'm always a little nervous betting on those odds. So I got scared a little bit, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I might need Simon to come in, hold my hand, tell me it's okay, and bet Marzon with me.
It's okay to bet the minus odds, especially the small ones. I don't. Here's the thing, right? If you don't want to put it in there, we already have six. We don't
Yeah.
necessarily need to make it seven.
And
It's
to
up
be
to
honest,
you.
uh
I think I'll probably leave Stearns and Stefani out. I like that bet. I just don't know if I can bring myself to put in a best bet.
yeah, to be honest, if I had to stack my reputation on it, I'm not fully comfortable with it because as much as like I just talked about Sonego being sort of bang average, this could also be the event that he wants to go nuclear at. So I think I'm staying away on that front.
That's fair. All right, so I'm gonna read them back here. And before we get to the best bets, I just do want to note I had said that I liked Freck to win a set. That was probably one of my favorite bets. I also said to take her spicy plus 400. She's in the third set right now with Andreeva. So if you did indeed take that plus 190, then that puts me back in the green after Diana Schneider decided to do the Schneider shuffle and shuffle away from a win. So I should be way up in the green right now, but instead barely, but I'll take it. And now I'll hit back these best bets here. So I'll go in reverse order. I got Eva Lease minus 150. You got Jabora plus 110, you dog. Kudermetova minus 115 versus Dodmai. I think we both like that one. Mute plus 110 versus Tien. I know we both like that one. Pellini minus 145 versus Finalina. I like that one.
I'm subscribed to that one as
He
well.
is subscribed. There you go. And then Musetti plus 125. We're both in on that one for sure.
And then I just wanted to let the listeners know we do have our official Twitter page now. It's
What?
we do it. Just breaking news. We are currently still trying to figure out the whole social media networking thing. So
Kyle just made a MySpace.
yeah, stay with us. But it's at Clean Winners Pod is where you can find us. And I think if I start seeing any followers creep on there, I might chuck them a little spicy bet that Simon and I endorse.
Exactly. Well, I think one of the first ones you'll see is you may see Angela creeping on there. She'll be like, let me throw her a spicy bet.
There we go.
I was telling these guys, I saw this commercial where they had like women in these prop betting commercials. I'm like, this is getting degenerate trying to lure in young
We're
men. Like,
start they're starting to do the Carl's Jr. now, where it's
yeah,
like, come eat our
exactly.
burgers. Now it's like, come bet, please.
I'm like, I've never met a woman ever who's like, y'all doing that prop betting? Like, no.
Or just betting in general. I told Jess
Yeah.
I was starting a tennis betting podcast, and she was like, interesting.
Probably hasn't even hit you with that subscribe yet on
Yeah,
Spotify.
I'm
Yikes.
just hoping she listens, but this will be a great test. But
That
yeah,
would be a good
please,
test.
please, subscribe to the Twitter handle there. It would be great to start to grow an audience, and we'll do our best to see how we can grow engagement from that.
We will. I think we can throw a few bets here and there or something we see that maybe we miss. Like it's definitely a great way to tease a few things. I also notice like if people like your tweet, you send them the bet kind of thing. So yeah, I like it. I can we're excited right now. Right now we're feeling pretty hot, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, it's baby steps to this podcast. I just want to let the listeners know, even if there's two of you out there, I've got nothing but a dream and a headset, so I'm going nowhere.
And that's a lot. I'm gonna get a real mic at some point because I think my technique into the microphone is not very good, and probably some listener somewhere, some random guy was like, "God, the pics are good, but this audio and that guy won't shut the heck up." So, all right, that's it for today. Best of luck with everything you guys get. Listen to it in the morning. Turn up the heat.
Cheers and subscribe.